Hello and welcome back to another We Are Sunderland team news video live from the Stadium Light. Quite hot today, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different from Monday, isn't it? Halting on Monday.
Yeah, I've still got plenty of layers on, don't get us wrong. I'm sweating walking up them stairs. But yeah, Mike Dodds has named his team to face Bristol City today. 3 changes. Jack Clarke comes into side, so does Leo Hjelde and Chris Rigg, I believe, is the last one. Well, I mean, I suppose we best touch on the last time out here against Blackburn. There's so many words that Mike Dodds described after the game. Utter disgrace is one that didn't come out of his mouth, but it was nothing short of that, was it?
No, it was really, really poor. You could tell that he was still angry and annoyed and upset about it in his press conference yesterday, and that sort of leads into the game today. What does he do? Do you stick with the side that let you down so much on Monday, just 5 days ago, and hope that they go out and put in a performance and sort of repay and earn a little bit of trust back with Dodds and anyone who turns up this afternoon as well? Or do you rip it up and sort of prove your point that way by making wholesale changes across the board? As it is, it's a little bit in between with just 3. Obviously, Jack Clarke, we questioned it, didn't we, a little bit on Monday with him coming off the bench when he did. At 4-0 down, he's just come back off an ankle ligament injury. Has he come back a little bit early? We don't necessarily know. But to bring him into that situation felt a little bit naive to me. I don't know about you, but in saying that, he's straight back into the starting lineup today. And, if he's fit and ready to go, then, it's obviously a no-brainer to bring him in. Likewise, Chris Rigg, he was probably the one who was unfortunate to be dropped on Easter Monday. He played well down at Cardiff on Good Friday. He's back into the starting lineup today. You'd think that he's just going to go straight out onto that right wing where Patrick Roberts drops back down to the bench. Roberts, he looked out of sorts, didn't he, on Monday, coming back into the side. Yeah. You hope that that's not going to be something that you will see from Clarke today in terms of coming back in too soon.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's something that sort of puzzled me a little bit. Was Mike Dodds spoke, at length about needing to take his time with the players that have come back from injury. I think it's completely understandable why Jack Clarke's in there, but it perhaps went against the grain a little bit compared to what he'd said. I am one hand not surprised to see Chris Rigg in there. I felt like Sunderland just lacked that bite that he brings. And again, I asked Mike Dodds about this, about having such a young player available at your disposal. Where's the future for him? This summer's massive, isn't it? Because as things stand, there's no sort of contract in place that we're aware of. But giving him minutes at this level is such a huge indicator of how highly he's valued. Now, I've toyed with the idea of, in my team selection that I picked before the game, I'd like to see him in the midfield 3 alongside Neil and Job. The one person I am surprised is starting is Pierre-Emerick.
Yeah, I think Monday, wasn't
he didn't have his best game, and again, look, I think Mike Dodds is right. I don't think anybody in that start lineup played well or played even particularly close to half decent. But I am surprised that he retained his place. I think we've spoken about this so many times about Ekwa needing almost a slap in the face. I think was the word that Tony Mowbray used to describe it. He's a Rolls Royce of a player, but sometimes I think, especially when you're getting beat like 5-1 at home off Blackburn, it doesn't stand him in good stead. I think sometimes the way he plays the game goes against him a little bit. It looks like he's trudging about a bit. Looks like he's not bothered. I don't think that is the case. I just think that I can see how it can come across like that.
Just on Rigg then, before you carry on with that, you're saying in a 3. Do you think that he will be out on the right today, or do you think he'll be in midfield alongside Neil and Ekwa?
I do think he'll be in out on the right. I just think I would like to see him in that 10. We've seen him play there a little bit, but I think Aushish is the best connector at the minute that you've got. I think he plays a lot closer to whoever you play with the number 9, which we presume again will be Job. We'll pull the team up just for you, just with what we think it'll look like. Leo Hjelde as well. Are you surprised to see him come back into the fold? I mean, personally, I included him in my team heading into the game, but I was aware that I thought Adji could start today.
I thought Alicia might come back in today. I know he wasn't in the squad, but there was no sort of hints of any injuries or setbacks from him on Monday. It was just a case of how Mike Dodds felt he wanted to go on Monday. After last week, dropping him down at Cardiff sort of spoke volumes to me in terms of putting Styles in there, a position where it's been openly said where you don't necessarily know where Styles' best position is. Is it full back? Probably not. Styles himself says midfield. He plays there for his international team. it's just been a little bit of a mix-up really for me, that left-back position. They tried to solve it in January, obviously, with the injuries to Dennis Cirk and Niall Huggins. Been big losses, Elise himself included in there, only 3 games this season. I just felt this one could have been a chance for him to get phased back in after, how bad Monday was. So, big test for him. The one thing you would say, obviously, Helder is Sunderland's player going forward next season. Styles at the moment that he's still on loan. There is a deal there. Will they bring him in permanently in the summer or not? Alicia obviously back in the squad on the bench, so whether they mix it up, depending on how the game goes or not, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think just obviously you mentioned him earlier as Patrick Roberts. Now, I'm a fan of Patrick Roberts, but I also think it's fair to say that he hasn't had the best of seasons this year. I'm not surprised to see him drop out of the side, really, are you? He did look off the pace. He actually hasn't played a lot of minutes either, so I was confused to see as why he started. I wanted him to see him play, to see what he was like, but it's fair to see he was way off the pace.
It feels as though it was one with Roberts. It was one of them where you're surprised he didn't come off the bench for some minutes and just thrown straight in. Sort of like what we saw Clarke last week, to go back to the start of it. Got a comment coming through here from Alan in terms of surprise Bar missing completely. What are your thoughts on that? Abdullah Bar, he started down at Cardiff, did okay, and then on the bench on Easter Monday, and then out of the squad altogether today.
Yeah, I mean, it's something we'll ask Mike Dodds about to see, where the Frenchman is. But I think that's been the major problem that you have with Abdullah Boys. But we've said that we think his best position's actually out on this right-hand side. He's had an opportunity in Jack Clarke's absence to go out there and play out there, but he hasn't really done a lot. That's the problem I will find ourselves in Sunderland as a whole. They haven't really, when Jack Clarke was absent. Yeah. You sat looking around the team thinking where the goal's going to come from. And yes, it was good display down at Cardiff, but again, I think if Chris Rigg's starting ahead of him as well, and I'm a big fan of Chris Rigg, but what does that say for Abdullah Bai? He hasn't been consistent enough this season at all.
The thing that you would say as well, just to sort of dive a little bit deeper on it, this right wing position, and I'm going to contradict myself here because I think I said on Monday that, Robert's back in the lineup, he's probably still your number one there. That is becoming not so sure.
Yeah.
You would think, you've got Bar, you've got Rigg, you've got Roberts, Mundell could play out here as well. Obviously, like we've said a lot of times, we expect Clarke to go, so some of them can play on the left. But this right wing position next season is really wide open, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as well, just on Rigg being out there, because you look at that, he's played the majority of his youth career as, in a midfield area, in the central midfield area, either as a 10 or box to box. So to actually see him, this is the problem that I think Sunderland have had throughout the course of this season, is they're sort of shoehorning players into areas where they think they can be effective, which is fine to a degree if you're getting results. But the problem I have at the minute is Sunderland are not getting results. So we've got Chris Rigg playing out wide right. Now, that hasn't been his position. And as you say, look, a lot of that has been down to injuries. I agree. I think this right wing slot, especially when you tie up with the idea of losing Jack Clarke next year, that's two sides of the pitch where one has gone from being your strong area when you look at the previous couple of seasons to now all of a sudden having, on this current run of form, on what we're seeing with our eyes on the pitch. Yeah, it's an area of concern, isn't it?
On the current run of form, we thought we'd turned a corner after Cardiff.
Yeah.
How wrong were we all? Easter Monday, Mike Dodds' tenure it can't get going at the moment, and it's difficult to find words this afternoon to be enthused by. But I mean, Bristol City coming out, they've won 3 of the last 4 games. Sunderland drop into the bottom half, Bristol 1 place above them. If Bristol were to win, that all of a sudden creates a bit of a gap between the bottom half and the top half. And we spoke about it as well, just that sort of the psyche of finishing in the bottom half to the top half. I know whichever it is, it's still a disappointing season for Sunderland, but finishing bottom half sounds worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, again, with something we've spoken about so many times about just finishing this season strongly, I think the best way to look at it, and it sounds ridiculous to say this, because this is Sunderland Football Club, this is a former Premier League club who still has grand plans and ambitions to get back there, and we're talking about 6 games being a potential mini-season to breed some positivity into the place. Now, that shouldn't be that way. That should not be that way at this stage of the season. Now, look, it's naive to say, look, I'm not saying Sunderland should go and win every single game, or they have a divine right to do so, but it's just indicative of where we are. It's, this is a pre-game team news piece, so I'm the way of going off on a complete rant on the model again, but it's where they're at now. I do think the bench looks stronger than what it has. The team looks stronger than what it has. And I think that's probably what was so disappointing about last time out against Blackburn is having, they're not excuses. It's the situation of where Sunderland are at. Now, they've got to put in a performance today. I did a piece on where Sunderland said, look, fans deserve better than this because at the minute it's abject. It's not good enough. You've got to have a reason to want to come to games. And at the minute, fans haven't got a reason to come to games. If there was effort and desire on the pitch, fair enough, but they've just lacked that fight, and you need that fight in the Championship.
Yeah, you've sort of answered my question to you there. Was going to be, what does Sunderland need to do this afternoon? It's got to. I mean, understandably, it's got to be so much better than Monday, but they've got to put in a performance to win this game, don't they? Today?
Yeah, this win needs to stop us. Do my hairline no favours. But yeah, look. What is it? What are we after here? What are we after? 3 points? I know they'll be taught the performance. I think no matter how they play today, they need 3 points because it's not been good enough. You can win football games different ways. We saw against Leeds United. They won sort of by sitting in a bit more, and they've won nitty-gritty. They need to win today. It's as simple as that. When was the last time they won at home?
Plymouth mid-February. Which is odd because the home form is something that was it's been a strong point this season, especially given how bad the away form is in contrast to last year. So many subplots to it, isn't it? Yeah. Which is surprising considering that the season is pretty much dead and buried. Consider the last couple of weeks. Sunderland players just coming out to warm up there, so we'll wrap this up now. It's a little over 35 minutes to go until kick-off. Make sure you like and subscribe our YouTube channel and subscribe, of course, to We Are Sunderland for all the latest analysis from this afternoon at the Stadium Light, and we will be back later on in the week. Thanks for joining us.